everybody, Pat Huntoon here with Technique Junkies, and today I have a great collection of cards to show you, and just using two sets and one additional stamp to make all of these cards. And I kept everything in one color scheme, so I'm going to be using the Beach Retreat collection from Catherine Pooler Inks, and we're using basically 6 of these inks out of 8. You're going to notice that I will be using full-size pads. I don't have any of the small ones open for myself, but I'm going to be using the full-size pads because that's what I have opened. So that's the first thing to tell you. We're using the Beach Retreat collection. Let me show you the stamps we're going to be using. We're using S974, All About Winter, which is all these winter words. We're using SSO98, Snowflakes, set of 9. Just here, all these snowflakes. There's 6 snowflakes and 3 sayings. And S111, Let's Chill, set of 7. There are 4 penguins and 3 sentiments. So this is what we're going to start with right now. So let's get started on this. So the first thing that we'll be doing is creating a collection of penguins across the card like that. So we're putting 4 penguins on there. In order to do that, we need to mask them. So I am taking my first penguin and I am placing him in the middle of the card, about an inch from the left. And I am using a piece of acetate here just so I can check my positioning. So, and I will be using Catherine Pooler Midnight Ink. Catherine Pooler Midnight Ink you can watercolor with, which is why I like to use this ink. So let's see where that goes with this. I think that's just about the right spot, so let's stamp that. And after we stamp this, we will be creating a mask of this. So I'm just going to see how nice and beautiful that stamps. That stamps so nicely. I'm going to be using a piece of Post-it paper. I'm just taking the residual ink and stamping that. So in order to create a mask, we're not worrying about this line. I'm going to cut the heart out separate, and then I'm going to cut the penguin out. And it'll only take me a minute or so because I'm not cutting this. So let me cut that out and come right back to you. Once you have your heart and your penguin cut out, go ahead and place that right over the top. Oh, I want to show you a couple of things. I actually cut into the lines of the actual penguin, and I do that because that gets you the closest amount of overlap as possible without a lot of white space in between them. So you notice that you're going to see some black along the bottom there. Can you see that? That black along the bottom there. The other thing that it's important to have is removable adhesive. I'm using mono removable adhesive here. However, I have also used pixie dots. They make these awesome pixie dots, and I do sell them in my store. I just don't happen to have any on my desk right now. So I'm just going to put the heart down there because this is going to stay down. So one thing to remember when you're masking is that whatever you want in the forefront, I wanted this guy with the balloon in the forefront, you have to think in reverse. So whatever you want first, whatever you want closest to you has to be stamped first, which is why we stamped my little baby there. And now we're going to be using this dude. So again, I'm placing that down. The other reason I do that is when I'm positioning, sometimes if I have any leftover ink on the stamp from not cleaning well enough, it also prevents that from getting on the paper while I'm positioning and checking it out. So I think I have him there. So let's put him on the acetate sheet. Yeah, I think that's going to be, actually, I think I'd like to move him up just a little bit. Okay, so now I'm going to stamp this little dude because he's going to be second in the forefront here. Perfect. And this is the only other one that we're making a mask for. Everything else doesn't need a mask. The other 2 penguins don't need a mask because of where they're positioned. So I am just going to stamp him here. Cut that out. Again, it doesn't need to be perfect. I just need to see where he goes, and I'll bring him right back. Okay, so I cut a mask. I get a little lazy with his feet because his feet are black, and what we're doing is using a lighter color, so it's not going to show. So I kind of cheated a little bit. So he's down. One other thing I want to mention before I move on, two of the cards that are in this grouping seem pretty similar, but there are subtle but important differences to them, and I will discuss those as I make them. But if you're making both of the cards that have the penguins across the front, or making multiples of one of the cards, stamp all your penguins, stamp your first penguin on each one, and then stamp your second penguin on each one. Just move the mask over. You only need one mask every time you do it, okay? So that's the second penguin. Now the third penguin is going to go on the right-hand side. So it's going to go here. So let me line that up. So I've lined this one up onto my acetate sheet, and he's a little tougher one because I want to get his skate, I want to get most of his face in there without it covering up, without the other penguin covering it up. So he was a little bit tougher to line up, but again, easy to do. You just stamp right over the top of the masks. You leave those masks in place. And another tip I have for you is to keep your acetate clean, because there is nothing like getting ink on your fingers from not cleaning your acetate off. So, and move your penguins out of the way and keep them clean too. So let's do the last penguin. So I'm actually moving this over a little bit because he will be off the edge. I'm just placing that in the corner again and realigning this. Okay, so now that you have, once you get everything stamped on here, you can move it off the edge. And what I'm actually doing is moving this off the edge because I want to use the words that are at the top of this stamp. So I want to use these words. It's a little easier to stamp these words than it is to stamp these words, I think. So what I am doing is seeing where the stamp fits here. You notice I put the plastic sheet in here just to make sure I don't get anything on here. And it's okay for this to hang off the edge like that. You see how it's hanging off the edge? That's okay. If you have a Tim Holtz positioner, that's not going to be an issue for you because it has the open edges on it. So just work on the open edge there. I'm just using my MISTI here. So I am lining this up so the bottom of the skates, the bottom of the actual penguins are in line with the words, but don't overlap the words. So let's tack that down with my magnet so my paper doesn't move. And again, it's okay for this to hang off the edge. It won't crease. And I am going to show you why I have two different ones here. Okay, I'm going to do this right now. So you notice on this one, I used the light purple on here. I used the serene color. The reason I did that is because I put words over the top and I wanted them to be highlighted. I put dark words here because they were more or less standing on them. If I use the lighter words, when I use the lighter words on this, it made them look like they were floating, and I didn't want them to look like they were floating. So this time around, I'm going to use the light words here. It doesn't really matter. It's really just to show you how it's done. So I'm going to use the light words. I'm using Serene right now. The color I'm using is Serene. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to set this to the side and just quickly do the snowflakes. So the snowflakes, the idea behind the snowflakes is that I'd like them in different colors. So I am literally just going to take my snowflakes and put them in here how I think I like them. And I am strategically placing, actually. I'd like a couple over these penguins and the heart. So I want to overlap there, but I don't want to overlap that fuzzball because I didn't make a mask for it. So I'm overlapping that one a little bit. And I want one at the top. I'd like one here And this one I'm just being more creative and keeping away from this penguin. And I think we need some little one here. And we need one more, I believe, and we'll put that one there. This one's going to have a lot of snowflakes on it. So then I'm going to pick this up and just simply put different colors of ink in the ink palette that we're using on those snowflakes and stamp them again. And I'm just going to stamp that after adding colors to them. When I'm doing them with these big pads, and it's a little harder to add the colors strategically on there. With the little pads, with the minis, you can see it's a lot less area that the pad is a lot less area, which makes it much easier. So I'm just going to lift that off and re-stamp any of the colors that I didn't think got a full share there. Really just the blue. Okay, so now I can take this out. The stamping on this one is done. And peel off, but hold on to my masks because we use them for the other cards. And now I have that masked off like that. Finish this off, I just have a water brush here and I'm pressing my lids in to the top there so I can pick up some of the ink from there. And I am literally just going to lightly add a little water there. And then just watercolor these. Make them there. Now, if you have water in the top of your lid, make sure you wipe it out. You don't want to put that water into your ink pad. All right, next with the sea glass. So the other color that's in the kit is in that color palette is the clay mask, which is what we're going to be using just for the our feet and one of the noses that isn't colored in. So just lightly dot of color there, color here. Okay, so you can see how with just a few stamps and a few inks, you could really just make this really cool card. So to finish this one off, all I did was I stamped the Winter is Warmer Together from the Penguin set, and I popped that up. Okay, so that's popped. And on the inside of this card, so when I finish this, you can see they're identical. You can see they're identical. So when I finish this one, I just put 3 snowflakes inside of that, just to give it a little bit more interest. When I finished this one off, which is the darker color on the bottom that I left blank. You notice I also use much more dark colored inks on the top just to balance it more, and darker colors when I'm coloring them. I use less purple in coloring the penguins. On this one on the inside, I stamped 3 snowflakes and the sentiment. This sentiment is from the snowflake set. Good friends are like snowflakes, all different and beautiful. So let me show you how I made these other 2 cards. For this card, I took this penguin with the heart and I stamped him. And then I, whoops, wrong mask. I masked him off and masked off the heart. And then I used the big All About Winter background stamp and put different colors of ink on it from that color palette and stamped over it. And then I peeled these off, just like I did the other. And I watercolored him with the same technique that I used on the one I showed you before. So that one was nice and quick and easy. The other thing that you can do with this, if you want to add a little more pizzazz to any of these, is to grab a glitter gloss pen, a Nouveau glitter gloss pen, and just add some spot shimmer to these. It's always prettier. Everything's always prettier with shimmer, so you just add some shimmer to that. So I just did a little sparkle to that one. You can do it to all of them. On this last card, what I did was I took this cute dude, and I stamped him on the middle of the panel. And then I literally took the center of the, you can see this is the center of the All About Winter right here. Literally just stamped on top of the panel, peeled this off and watercolored him. And then I created the background paper using the purple ink pad, just direct to paper. And then I stamped the different snowflakes in the background of this one to get that cool colored background. So that is my tutorial today. It is simple, it's easy, and I think I'm just going to sit here and add shimmer to all of these little penguins and their outfits, and I am done with these cards. Thank you for stopping by today. I hope you enjoyed seeing how these cards were made, and I hope you will consider subscribing to the Technique Junkies channel, and I will see you next time. Don't forget to hit the like button if you're on YouTube. It helps me a lot. Thanks a lot. See you next time. Bye now.